Hello and welcome to the very first episode of BookTube Bestie! With BookTube Bestie, I will be picking different YouTubers that I have very similar reading taste to, I think, at least. And I will be looking at their 2021 worst and favorites lists of the year, and I will be picking books to read off of those lists. The idea is that I will figure out who I have very similar reading taste based on the fact that I will like the books they like and I will hate the books they hate. But at the same time, I am only picking books that I am interested in reading. I'm not trying to pick books that I think I'm gonna hate, if that makes sense. So, I will be reading 2 books off their favorite list and 1 to 2 books off their worst list, just depending on really how much time I have and how much reading I can get done. With episode 1, I am picking Jade from JadeyRaeReads. If I could pick one person on BookTube who I think I have very similar taste to, it would probably be Jade, so I had to start it off with her. I went through Jade's best and worst of the year list. Now, Jade's best list gave me lots to work with. I went through and I wrote down all the books that I haven't read off the list that weren't sequels that looked interesting to me, like books I still want to read. Like, I'm not trying to read all these books I don't want to read if I can help it. And Jade gave me lots to work with. So she has Malice by John Gwynne, Echo North, Way of the Argosy by Sebastian Castell. I don't know who Echo North is by, I'm sorry, but it'll be up on screen. Wicker King and Master of Sorrows on her best list. So from this list, I was looking at it and I have Malice, so I will be reading Malice by John Gwynne. And I also have Master of Sorrows. I just have it in the Kindle edition. So I will be reading Malice and Master of Sorrows. Now, these are both 5-star predictions for me, so I feel like we're doing pretty good. And I'm really excited. This one is on my TBR for this month, February. So you guys do know I'm reading it, just not necessarily for this video. Although I gave you a hint when I made my TBR and said it was on Jade's list. And that's why it got upped on my TBR, but it was for this video. And Master Sorrows is not, it's hidden still, but I'm very excited to also read that one. And then on her worst of the year list, Jade's worst was a lot harder because a lot of these she doesn't really have worse because Jade is really good at DNFing books she's not gonna like, because there's no time to read books you don't like, truly, as I'm literally doing this. But I really appreciate the fact that she DNFs books, but she did put DNFs on this list, and I am counting them. Number 1, we have Keepers of the Lost City. Now, this is a good contender. We have How to Lose a Time War, Pages & Co., Fallen Kingdoms, which was a DNF, and The Name of the Wind. Part of me wants to pick up Name of the Wind, because I do own it, and I do think I will like it, but I also really just don't want to pick this book up, because the 3rd book's never coming out at this point, and I don't want to do that to myself, so I'm crossing that one off the list. So what I am going to do is Fallen Kingdom by Morgan Rhodes. Now, Jade said in her video that she DNF'd this mostly because the incest kind of disturbed her and she didn't like it. I don't think that this will be a problem for me. I didn't have a problem with it in, I haven't read the books, but in the Cassandra Clare books where there's the incest thingy storyline happening, that didn't really bother me. I don't think it will take away from my enjoyment of the book, but we will see. I guess it really depends how bad it is and how it's done, because in Game of Thrones, the incest is done really well and is pretty much the main plot line because their kids are all effed up from incest. Loved that. So I'm actually really not sure I'm gonna hate this. Okay? This is the worst book that I want to read, and I'm actually going to start this probably tomorrow because I technically don't have a lot of time left in the month, and I feel like I could smash this out really easily. And then, other than that, I'm thinking about doing Keepers of the Lost City or Pages & Co. because they read their middle grades and they'll read really quickly. So if I have time, I will be doing another one, but at this point in time, because I picked real chunky fantasy books, I don't think I'm going to pick up that 4th book. We might just leave it at 3, but we will see how I feel as the vlog goes on. I am actually about to go to bed, so I am not going to be starting the vlog at this moment in time, starting reading, but I will catch you up probably tomorrow when I start Fallen Kingdoms, and I'll explain a little bit about it then, because I have no idea what this is about. I think I was told that it's like the YA Game of Thrones, which does make sense with like incest. That's literally all I know about it. I know there's incest and it's the YA Game of Thrones. I also do like this cover. Okay, see you soon. Okay, so I started Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. I'm 94 pages into it. I don't hate it, okay? From what I've gathered so far is we are following this like world, these couple kingdoms where magic is slowly starting to like slip out of the world. And so we're following what might have been prophesized as the magic slipping out and then maybe them recovering it is my guess. So we're following 3 different like major characters. I will say every single character sounds exactly the same to me. Like there's not a lot going on in terms of voice and tone, but I don't hate it. Mostly because I really like Cleo's chapters and I'm expecting some good little tension with her guard, giving me From Blood and Ash and the Throne of Glass vibes. This one definitely more Throne of Glass, like not as good. It's very basic so far. We're not getting a lot. It's definitely like a YA, like it reads very YA, but it's reading quite fast. I've only been reading for about an hour. I'm on Booktube Bestie sprints right now, errand sprints, and I have hit the incest part. I will say I'm kind of confused how much the incest bothers people because it's made quite clear to me that they're not actual siblings based on the prologue and a couple little hints we get in that chapter. I thought that it was very obvious. At least I'll be shocked otherwise. Like, to me it's obvious that he's not actually her sibling, but maybe I'm wrong and then I'll be like really shocked. But at this point, like that's what I'm getting at, like with what happened in the prologue and then the little scene of him sneaking up. So doesn't really bother me. Another thing that most of the time incest is like a sign of something being wrong because you're actually like biologically, your body isn't typically attracted to people that you're related to. It's almost its own like warning sign to you because the problem with incest is like your genes are too similar and then you have problems with children and all of that. So it's actually your own biology tends to like steer you away from that. So the fact that he is so attracted to her and he's of sane mind, like in Game of Thrones, they're not of sane mind. So it like, you understand why. Like incest probably been a thing in that family for like a really long time. Where with this one, he's of sane mind. So I don't believe it in any way. I don't know. So it doesn't really bother me. I've already been talking for 3 minutes. I'm gonna keep going. I have a feeling it's gonna be about a 3-star. I don't think I'm gonna hate it. I'm hoping to get more of like Cleo's chapters because so far those are the ones I'm enjoying and I'm not really enjoying everyone else's chapters. Like, just make this a fantasy romance and I'd probably be here for it. But like, I do like the like princess and her guard trope for like romance. Especially when they're like not happy about it. Like, not necessarily enemies to lovers, but like hate to love or like angry to love. I like that. We will see how I feel about this. I definitely don't think it's going to be a favorite. I also, though, don't think it's going to be on my worst of the year this year. Maybe my tastes aren't as similar to Jade's as I think they are. You're so cute. I'm about halfway through. I am struggling. I'm considering DNFing. Erin from Booktube Bestie has told me to DNF, which will then put mine and Jade's taste very similar. The thing is, I will not be DNFing because of the incest. I will be DNFing because of the writing. I'm interested. Here's the thing. This is why I don't think I'm going to DNF, because I think I could grind this out really quickly. I think if this had been better written or an adult fantasy, I would be loving it. Just, it's very YA. It suffers from insta-love. It suffers from telling us everything up front. It's leaving nothing for me to be desired. And that makes it kind of boring. Although I'm intrigued by what's going to happen, because I just feel like it's not plotting nicely, because all of the plot points, I find out a plot point, I'm intrigued, and then next chapter I like figure out that plot point. So I don't fully know where this story is going besides like a convergence of the 3 characters that are like really important. And I will say I am still interested in the guard to princess, but that's very insta-love. Very insta-love. I'm really considering DNFing. Just because, like, I have so much better books to read. I literally got book mail today of Master of Sorrows, which is the second book in this vlog that I will probably be reading, this and Malice. So, I could just read this. In time, like, I've only been live for, like, 3 hours, 4 hours, and I've read half of this. Like, I could grind this out not live easily. Like, so I think I'm gonna finish it, because, like, I want to know where it ends. I have finished the book. It's done. One day. I completed it. I hated it. I should have DNF'd it. So many times I was reading this book and was like, I should put this down. I don't like it. But I kept reading it because it did have potential. I'm gonna put it as a 2-star. There are aspects of this that are good, but I've seen this story of rebellion and political revenge and political battles done time and time again. It's one of my favorite things in fantasy books. I've seen it done way better. This is not the next Game of Thrones. This is not Game of Thrones for YA people. This is trash in the nicest way possible, because, like, I do understand why some people would like this, and maybe at 15 I would have loved this. So, but there's too many plot holes in this. Too many characters that sound exactly the freaking same. And the writing was just, like, I held out a breath that I didn't know I was holding, and predictable, and lots of the characters didn't, like, their motives didn't really make sense. Like, they were swapping. Like, the one guy was supposed to be like, oh, I'm dark and brooding, I'm incestual, I love my sister, I'm a terrible person, but then, like, was doing nice things, but, like, he was a terrible person. Like, the reason that he did those nice things didn't make sense, but also the reason he did those angry things didn't make sense. So, like, like, I didn't care about anyone. I wasn't invested in anyone. Well, I was invested in one character, but not enough, and he won't be in any future books, so I won't be continuing. Although I will say the ending did make me want to continue, because I'm that person that wants to know how the whole story goes. But, like, I shouldn't have suffered through this in the first place. I should have listened to Jade and DNF'd it. Because although it wasn't the incest that bothers me, there are a whole lot of other things in this book that bothered me. And I've read good YA, guys. Like, I'm going away from the YA category now, but, like, I loved Red Queen with, like, I love it. That was done way better than this. And Ember in the Ashes, way better than this. Like, there are good YA out there. I just don't understand why this is so hyped, and, like, there is nothing that's Game of Thrones like in this besides the incest. Nothing. So, book 1 down. And I would like to say that I think me and Jade agree on this one. So we got 1 point for Jade. Now, I think I might want something light, so I'm thinking about picking up one of the middle grades on her worst of the year, but then I also don't really want to hate another book right now, so I'm also thinking about picking up Master of Sorrows, because, like, I know I'm gonna love this, but I can't decide. So I might pick up, like, a small horror or something in between, because I don't know if I'm ready to, like, enter this world. But I do have the audiobook for this currently out from my library. I also own it on Kindle, so I have, like, a lot of copies. So I'm thinking, maybe, yes. And I have tried to summarize Master of Sorrows a million times from the synopsis. I know that it is a villain story. Like, it's about the villain being made. And that just sounds intriguing to me. And that he has magic, but magic's bad, and he's kind of struggling with the fact that magic's supposed to be bad when he has it and thinks it's good. That's pretty much all I know, that it's his origin story. And that has me super excited. I have a feeling that this is going to be a hit. I have a feeling me and Jade are just BookTube besties and meant to be friends. So, yeah, those are my predictions. It's 10 o'clock, so I'm probably just going to chill and sleep now and crack into this tomorrow maybe. So, thanks for sticking around with me as I should have DNF'd this book. Okay, so I have started the second book, Master of Sorrows. I am about 50 pages in, and literally I think this is a 5-star read. Like, I'm predicting that I will give this 5 stars. I'm really, really, really enjoying it. I can see the darkness already, and I love that. And, like, there's a little bit of trials going on. There's a competition. Like, tropes I love. Competition, trials. Chosen one. And darkness. I'm honestly really obsessed with this already. Like, I should have picked this up way earlier, but anyways, I look this nice because my family, we are going out for dinner tonight, so I have to get ready. So I did my makeup and my hair, but I figured, I don't know if you've seen these TikToks that are like, get ready with me or help me get dressed. I'd kind of do a little bit of that to like spice things up a little bit. So I'm thinking I'm gonna wear these like Aritzia Babaton leather pants I have. They're like really baggy, and so my thought is maybe with like a corset looking top, or either like a bralette type top and then something over top. So I'm gonna put something on and see if that works, and then I'll show you the final outfit. And yeah, that was really brief. I just wanted to say that I'm really enjoying it and that I'll probably like it, like Jade said that she liked it. So please ignore the mess everywhere. This was like my first thought, which is like super sexy, but like I'm going out with my parents, so I don't think this is gonna work. This would be good for date night or like girls night, but yeah, I think it's a little too scandalous for hanging out with my parents. So I'm gonna go change, and probably I don't think I'm gonna go with the leather pants. I think I have an idea. I'll be back to show you. I ended up going with this, and then I have a brown, like a warm brown leather jacket to go on top, and I'm gonna wear like cute little booties. Much more parent friendly. Star. Should we sing? What song can we sing?
Swing! Swing!
I figured I'd update you. I am at my lake with my sister and her roommate, and we are just relaxing, so I might get a lot of reading done. I am on chapter 9 currently, and I know last time we talked, I said it with a 5-star prediction, and I'm now about that. Could be a 3 or 4. We'll see. I'm still quite early. I'm only 84 pages into like this chunky book, so I think it could go many ways at this point in time. I don't really have anything else to update you on. I'll show you some clips of the lake, I guess. The vlog isn't just me talking. Nothing really has happened in this, which is kind of why I'm like slightly leaning not towards a 5-star. I just need a little bit more action. Even though there was action, but I felt like it was kind of boring action. But it is a trial. I do typically like trials. I decided it's time to update you. I got back from the lake yesterday. Didn't read much. While we were at the lake, we listened to the Fellowship of the Ring because we're all buddy reading it. So we were like, oh, we were doing a puzzle and we just put the audiobook on and got through it that way. So I haven't read much of Master of Sorrows, but now today I ended up forgetting my laptop charger at the lake, so I had to drive back today, and so I listened to the audiobook the entire way there and back. That gave me a lot, and then I've been doing some cleaning, so I've listened to a lot of it. Last time we spoke I was on page 84 and I'm now on page 275, so I'm about halfway through, just a little bit less than halfway. I think I'm at like 46%. I am very unsure about this book. There are parts where I'm like, okay, this is really good, and I'm leaning towards a 5-star, and then there's parts that I'm like, meh, I'm leaning towards a 3-star, which in the end will probably put this book at a 4-star because of the like back and forth, but I'm not loving it the way I wanted to, so I'm even unsure if it's gonna hit a 4-star sometimes. I was expecting this to be a lot darker than it is. I do like how twisted the system is in it. The people in power and their leaders I find a little bit twisted and a little dark, and I'm intrigued by them. And then I do love the mentor-mentee relationship that's happening in this book, but I feel like I keep thinking I'm way farther into this book than I am. So much has happened that I don't necessarily feel like needed to be said in so many words. And so I think that's what's like really pulling this down for me. And like, as someone who loves chunky fantasies, that's not typically a thing that I have a problem with, but I just feel like I'm kind of repeating myself. I'm kind of bored of like listening to the same, or reading, I'm listening to the audiobook, to listening to the same thing told a different way or in a different setting. Like, I get why we're doing it, so I'm hoping maybe the payoff will be worth it, because sometimes with a chunky fantasy, like the beginning, you do have to kind of struggle through a little bit to like love the ending. So that's what I'm hoping happens. I should go back and watch Jade's opinion on this. I just remember that she loved it, but I wonder how she thought about the start to the finish, because I definitely had really high hopes for this. I do like the magic system. I find the magic system kind of cool, and I do like the concept of our main character being kind of disgraced and having that magic, but not like that's not a spoiler because it's literally like the whole book about is that he's been taught that magic is bad through society, but he has magic and has been taught himself that it's good kind of and can help people. I was told this is a villain origin story, so I'm literally kind of confused because our main character is not a villain. He's very, very sweet and wholesome besides like one scene, and I really liked that one scene. But other than that, he's been kind of just like any other vanilla character. But I'm hoping we get more, and I'm very intrigued with the mentor, and I want more from that relationship, but I have a feeling I'm not going to get much more of it from where I'm at in the book currently. I think that we might be leaning away from him, which makes me really sad because he's intriguing. I will say this also kind of falls prey to a thing that I hate, where someone has all these answers but won't tell the other person these things because they're scared it's gonna make it worse, but like really you'd probably make it better if you told them. Like it might get worse for a little bit, but it will get better because they need to know these things. I just hate that trope. It's a big thing in The Lord of the Rings and the Fellowship of the Rings, where Gandalf knows things, and that's what I'm comparing it to, because if Gandalf just told them more, they would probably not get into as much trouble, and that's how I'm feeling with this too. So that I definitely don't like. But there are good things happening. I am intrigued, and I'm going to keep continuing, and hopefully I will love it by the end. Hello, I'm about to start reading sprints on my channel, and we're gonna go pretty long today because I really want to grind out this chunker today. I went to bed last night, and I did a little update on my phone, but I'm just gonna not put those in there because there was shitty light, and I'm just gonna tell you what happened here now. I went to bed, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna listen to like 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna watch YouTube and just like go to bed. And I ended up staying up and listening to a lot more than just 5 minutes because I was very intrigued by what was happening for a bit. So we finally got like the mystery of the world and the mentor. I was happy we got that because we kept, throughout the first half of this book, we kept almost getting it and then having it like taken away from us. Like we were a kid that was supposed to get a reward and then got in trouble. And it was really frustrating me because I wanted to know more. I always think of myself now as like a world-driven reader, and I needed more from the world. I'm just happy that we finally kind of got it. And so I was really invested then. And then all of a sudden, like, I was stopped being invested again. This is the problem with this book. It's such a roller coaster ride for me because, like, we have really good parts and then we have parts that I just am like, why is that in there? Like, I don't care about what just happened. Like, why did I just have, like, 20 pages about this stupid thing? And so I'm thinking it's all gonna matter eventually. Like, I do have like guesses for why we're talking about this. Most of my boring scenes revolve around the like love interest, and I don't like them, and I'm like, why are we spending so much time on the love interest? I have a feeling why we are, but I'm And then, I don't know, it's so hard to do this spoiler free, and then something happens that got my attention again, and I actually ended up falling asleep, I think. But I'm now, like, back to being, like, heavily invested, and I want to, like, grind through this. But it's just been such a roller coaster ride. Like, I don't think that I could give this a 5-star at the end. I need to go see what Jade gave it. I'm gonna maybe I'll text her, and see what her thoughts were. I don't even know where my phone is, guys. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna message Jade and see what her thoughts were, and then maybe go from there to see how on par our thoughts are. On page 494, so I do not have that much left. I'm really not loving this. I don't hate it, but it's no 5 stars in the end. There are aspects of it that I want to love, and I keep thinking, oh, I should love this, and being like, I want to give it more because I should love it, but the thing is, I don't know what it is, but I'm not loving it. I think it's gonna be a 3-star. A high 3-star. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's long-winded. Like, I feel like most of this didn't need to exist to get your point across. And I don't really care for the characters. I mean, I'm not normally a character-driven reader, but I do like to still care about my characters and be invested in them a little bit. And I'm really not invested in what happens to any of these characters. I find our main character kind of whiny and boring, and I thought he was gonna be like dark and brooding and good like that, but I'm unsure. I mean, I still have like 150 pages left, but FML, I thought I'd like it. I'm kind of sad. Sad, Cassidy. I finished it. My brain is currently hurting trying to give it a rating. I'm now reconsidering every rating I've ever given because I was on such a roller coaster ride because I loved the ending, and last time we talked I was 100% sure this was getting 3 stars, and then the ending happened and I was so invested. I honestly want to pick up the next book currently, like that's how invested I got into it. So I don't know what to do because I want to just like be like, oh look, some parts are 5 stars, some parts are 3 stars, let's meet in the middle and give it a 4 star. But at the same time, my thoughts and feelings toward this do not feel on the same level as my thoughts and feelings to Rune of Kings or Trader's Blade or Legacy of Ash, which I all gave high 4 stars to. Maybe this is the low 4 stars. I don't know. But now I'm just reconsidering everything I've ever given a rating to and been like, should those be 5 stars now so that this can be a 4 star? Which makes no sense. Okay. So, I'm really struggling. The thing is, the last 100 or so pages really makes you understand that this is a setup book. I don't know how long this is supposed to be, the series, but this feels like a complete setup book. We're introduced to characters, we're starting to be introduced to the world, but not fully invested into it yet until like the last 100 pages where we get so much of the magic and the world and the different motives behind everyone. And that's what I love about high fantasy books. Those are the things that I want and that grip me. So the last 100 pages gripped me so much, as well as the first 100 pages. Everything in between was a little bit of a bumpy ride. I have to run it through Compile and figure it out because I have no idea what to do. But now, I'm really unsure what to pick up next because I'm still on sprints. We're still hanging out. I've only been live for 6 hours. I'm probably going to go live for another while. So I have to read another book. But my mind is just racing about this book. And this ending. Like literally this ending. The other thing I will say, I'm really backtracking, is I do feel like I was slightly sold this wrong. Like the back of this says, every Dark Lord has an origin. You've heard the story before. An orphan boy raised by a wise old man comes to a fuller knowledge of his magic and uses it to fight the great evil threatening his world. But what if that hero were destined to become the new Dark Lord? And then there's more about like actually what happens with like the academy and how the academy teaches that magic is bad, and this boy who has magic is struggling between if magic is bad or good. But I don't think that this was the villain origin story I was sold. Maybe the villain origin story is not the man that we think it is, because there is a bit of a villain origin story happening. So I will be very interested to see if what happens in the next books is more villainous, because in my opinion, not a villain. And this was no villain origin story. So I really think that the back of this is misleading, because I was expecting darkness, villain, morally gray character, and that's not what I got at all. I mean, there's morally gray characters in this, but it's just not our main character. I'm talking a lot because I'm just like processing all my thoughts right now. I have 15 minutes left in the sprint. I am excited to read more, and I am going to continue, for sure. Because, like, there were great parts of this book. And none of it was bad. Like, here's the thing, too. Like, 3 stars to me is a good book. None of this book was bad. This was a great book. Like, I will be recommending this book. I feel like I'm being more of a downer because I thought it was going to be 5 stars. So, like, the fact that it's a 3 star is, like, kind of, like, that it's leaning towards a 3 star is, like, kind of crushing to me. Because I really thought it was gonna be a 5 star. Everyone I've seen who's read this has like loved it, which I do really like it, and if it's a 4 star too, like that's a really, really good book. But yeah, I'm just disappointed because me and Jade I don't think align with this, because I did message her and she just said like, I loved it, it's 5 stars, like no hesitation. So we don't align on this one because this was not 5 star level in my opinion. But it's still pretty good. I still liked it. I don't think it will be on my best of the year list, though. Might be on my most disappointing of the year list. I'm calling it now. This might be. Okay, like, here's the thing. By me saying that, people are going to be like, oh, you didn't like it. No. Disappointing is not worst. Disappointing is that I just was disappointed, and I'm disappointed that I don't love it. Like, I'm disappointed it's not a 5 star. But it's still a good book, and I will be recommending it. And The writing style is very, I think, comparable to Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson and J.R. Tolkien. Not as descriptive, but very, like, plain. Very vanilla with, like, what's happening and the world and the context doing more of the intriguingness than, like, the actual writing style. Okay. Do I read Malice now, guys? Okay. This is the next book we need to read. Malice by John Gwynne. It's on Jade's list of things she loves. Can I do this to myself? Can I go from this high fantasy to this high fantasy, and then next week, in like 4 days from now for Polarthon, I'm reading the Winter Night trilogy. So that's a lot of adult fantasy. Should I throw in a horror in here, or like I just bought the next thing of saga, so should I read a saga? Should I read something that's like not high fantasy, or should I just like dive right into my vlog? Because I think I'm gonna love Malice. Like, I kind of do want to dive into it, and like I, without even reading this, think that this will be a 4 or 5. Like this one I was the most confident about going into. I will be very, very disappointed if this one doesn't come out a 4 at least. I think this is like Jade's like second of the year, and this was like farther down the line. So I could do that, or I also could throw on one of the middle grades, but the thing is, I don't think I'm going to like the middle grades, and I don't know if I want to do that to myself right now. So I need to contemplate what I'm doing. Part of me is thinking just like smash out one horror novella that's like 100 pages and then read this, but like that's also 100 pages. I could be into Malice already. My thoughts are confused. This book has broken me currently. Okay. I'll be back. I'll update. Malice, I literally have no idea what it's about. I know that there's 4 main characters in the Banished Lands. Something's going wrong, and I think the 4 main characters have to save it. That's what I'm guessing. This is 100% why I binge read series, because my brain can't get off that series currently. I started Malice. I'm 38 pages in, and I'm already enjoying it. Knock on all the wood, because I said that last time. I mean, but I ended up liking that one. I'm gonna give it a couple days, I think, before I give an actual rating, because I think I need to think on it, because, like, my brain is just not working. I'm still on sprints, but I think I can't decide whether I should continue this or read a graphic novel, because, as I said, I'm just thinking about Master of Sorrows currently. My brain is just thinking about it, and I can't focus on anything else. But I really do like the writing already in this one. It's very plain. It's, again, reminds me of like Robert Jordan, Brandon Sanderson, like very plain and to the point, but not descriptive at all, which I really like. And the characters seem interesting. I also like how much of the world we've already seen, because we've had 2 different POVs already, and they are in very different aspects of the world, and I'm excited to see that building. I'm very curious about all the characters, because I've met Corbin and Veradis, and we just technically glanced Nether, and I already like Nether from like the 5 seconds that we saw him. I'm here for him. I think the next chapter is Evnis's, and so I am very excited, and we'll have like a favorite character probably, and this one will be a little more interesting, I think, because I'm hoping I'm gonna like it, and I'll just be like ranting about how great it is. But yeah, I don't know whether I'm continuing or for tonight, because I'm still on sprints and I kind of want to keep them going for a bit. Whether I will just pick up a graphic novel and read a graphic novel really quickly. Hi, good morning. I literally haven't brushed my hair, and I'm still in my pajamas, and I'm updating you really early in the morning for literally no reason. Like, the camera's not even straight. You're welcome for this great added information. I was just watching BookTube this morning and like trying to catch up with everyone's videos. And I was watching JadeyRaeReads, and I love her channel. If you don't already follow her, you should. She reads a lot of fantasy that I think is like off the beaten path. Like, it's not that like typical BookTube fantasy, which is something I kind of want to lean towards sometimes. But she just read Masters of Sorrows in January, and she, interestingly enough, compared these 2 books, specifically the journey that our main character goes on in this book to Corbin's journey in this book. This will be interesting, because at this point in time I'm very interested in Corbin. Well, I guess she really compared the series, so like I won't know until like farther on in the series, but I just thought that was like really interesting. And also she kind of validated my feelings on this. Although she gave it a 5, maybe a 4, she too felt let down by how not dark it was, and said she really enjoyed her buddy read of it, so that's why it got a higher rating, but it probably wasn't actually a 5-star. I think I keep thinking on it, and I think I'm giving it a 3. I think it's a good setup book, but I think, like, I want to continue the series, and I know it is supposed to be, like, a longer part of a series. Like, it's not a trilogy, it's gonna be a long series. And so first books tend to be setup books. I gave Eye of the World 3 stars too, so I think it's gonna be a 3-star. Malice, however, I'm 100 pages into, and I'm loving. Like, this is the type of fantasy I like, that's multi-POV'd. We're getting lots of the world, it's lots of politics, lots of like kings and queens and like all of that, and like monsters too, and things happening in all of the different lands. So this is my comfort fantasy type, so not surprised I'm already loving it. I'm hoping at least like one of Jade's 5s will be a 5 for me, so hopefully this one. If not, we may be reading another, because I don't believe that we don't have similar taste. I think that this one was, ooh, I just spit everywhere. I think that this was just a random one-off. I think that this one should just be ignored, because I have a feeling I'm gonna love this. And I hated the Fallen Kingdoms one. So we're at 1 out of 3 correct currently. I also realized both of these were on my priority fantasy reads list this year, so I thought that was kind of intriguing, and I've already smashed out 2 of them. 3 technically, because Eye of the World was also on it. But yeah, I am gonna go do some work now and make myself a coffee and maybe look more presentable for the next clip, but I have no idea. I have no words. This book. I just passed 50%. I'm on page 335. And I'm obsessed. I'm in love. I can't talk. This is so good. I'm so pissed that I have had it on my shelf for so long, and I'm angry that I don't have the second book currently, because I could drop everything and read this entire series right now. I'm loving it. There are definitely some aspects I love more. I love everything happening with Corbin. Ban's story is just so good. I have some predictions, and I mean the little, like, why does no one talk about this as animal companion? That does have me a little scared that it might not be an animal companion for long. But there's an animal companion, and I love him. Actually, her. I love her. Storm is so cute. Fierce, loyal, everything I want. And yeah, I'm just literally obsessed with this. I also am a little bit more bored with Veridis's chapters. I find those are like harder for me to get through, but I'm still like breezing through them. Like, they're still great. They're just not as great as what's happening in the Corbin side of the world. The other character that I really like, I forget his name. He also happened in that side of the world. He was one of the like woodsman guys. And I think his name also starts with a C. But it's also part of that side of the world. I'm really, really liking that side of the world. I'm liking, as I said, less Veridis. But what's happening with Veridis is really intriguing. Also really sus. And yeah, I just have no words because this is so, 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 so good. This is happiness. I want to cry tears of joy for loving a book this much. I'm obsessed. On reading sprints, everyone can see me going, ah, 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 all of the time. Because I'm so invested that, like, even the slightest thing is making me, like, gasp. And, like, I'm shook and I love it. And I'm only 50% in. I also am reading along and listening to the audiobook. And I personally really like the audiobook. I find that the voice does the characters nicely. I like that. I'm loving it. Shout out to Jade for making me read this. I have about 150 pages left. I'm on page 484 currently. Things are happening. There have already been some tears. There have been some hitting myself in the head with my bookmark. There's been the osmosis of my book. Things are going. I was told on sprints that I should probably read the last off camera because I haven't even touched upon what's happening and I'm not ready. I have a feeling I'm going to bawl my eyes out and have a huge book hangover after this. I'm not ready, but I'm so happy. I think that this could be a contender for favorite of the year. I'm obsessed. Like, I think that this is going on that favorites list. Like, this is so good. So good. in some ways it does remind me of Legacy of Ash, but it's better than Legacy of Ash 100% in my opinion. But with the multi-POVs, that there's so many different POVs you're getting, which I really, really like. I like that you could get a POV and you could get it once in the book because it was relevant at that time, and then get it never again because it's not relevant to be in that person's head again. I really enjoy that. The more characters, the better sometimes. And yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm literally obsessed with this. And I honestly am thinking about just crawling into bed and not finishing it because I'm not ready for it to end. But I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it. But like, big shout out to Jade for picking this as one of her favorites, because now it's one of mine. Success. Hopefully. I mean, it would really have to suck to be a terrible book. Also, I do like that these have short chapters. The chapters, I don't think there's been a chapter that's more than like 10, and if it was more, it wasn't much more pages, and I love shorter chapters. I just fly through them really easily. Also, a shit ton of cliffhangers. Like, chapters that end on mini cliffhangers, and then you have to get to the next chapter, and you're like, oh crap, this is a different POV, I'm not in that same part of the world anymore. But then you remember what happened in that last chapter of that POV, and you're like, this is good. So, you're just like always wanting to read, and it's really, really makes it a really fast read and unputdownable. Because yeah, I've read it in almost a day, because I started it last night. I read like 100 pages, the rest I've read all today, and the brain is hurting. Also, I was talking to Mel tonight, because she was on my sprints, and she also didn't overly like Master of Sorrows. I think me and Mel have very similar taste, so this, I just am validating my feelings on this. Although I liked it, I just didn't like love it like I wanted to. So I'm just letting you know that my feelings have been validated even more by Mel. But this. Okay, I'm gonna read. I might record myself reading a little bit too, because I'm probably gonna cry. I love him! And I love her! No! I don't know how to go on. I took out my hair and now this is what I look like. I finished the book. 5 stars. 5 star. This was so good. So good. I just want to pick up the next one. I want to drop everything and read this whole series currently. Like, this was so good. I'm just speechless. So many good things about this. The characters so good. The plot is good. The world is good. The intrigue. Like, I'm so, like, what? So much happened in this book, but there's still so much that has to happen. I don't have thoughts. I'm thinking I'm gonna go shower, and maybe I'll have more thoughts, and maybe I might scrub Jade's video, because I still have 2 days before I want to get this vlog up. Do I read another, or do I just, like, end it here? But, like, I'm not ending it here, because I can't think, and I need to go to bed. So, I'm going to wrap this up tomorrow morning. This was so good. This was incredible. Incredible. If you've not read this book, please do. It's so good. Heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. So many times I was screaming. Like, I literally was screaming. I was like, what the frick is happening? What? Did not see that coming. And the ending? Like, one specific part of the ending that they just leave? Like, what? Okay, I'm signing off now. I will be back in the morning. Good night. Read Malice. I need to finalize some thoughts. I still don't know if I have finalized thoughts on this. This was just so good. John Gwynn's writing style is everything for me. Like, it's straight to the point. It's not too descriptive, but it has this this way that I can just digest it so easily and feel so involved with everything that's happening, all the characters. I don't think I've ever sat and read a book and physically had so many like yelling points or like what is going on. Like I was waving my hand. I was having mental breakdowns because this was so good and I was just so invested in everything that happened. So every little thing literally made me gasp. His character work is so beautiful. His plot work is so beautiful. Like, I knew that something was happening that was gonna break me. Like, I knew that this was coming, and it still broke me as if I didn't know. It's so good. So good. This has potential to be, I think that this is up there. This could be my next favorite book. Like, I still don't think it beats The Poppy War because I love The Poppy War, but I think it's next. I think it's second. I want to read everything else he writes. I'm obsessed with this. So, yes. Here's our stack from this vlog. So I read 2 books that Jade had on her favorites list and 1 that Jade had on her worst of the year list. Just to see how much we have in common. A decent amount. I hated this book. I loved this book. I do feel mediocre about this book, but that's okay. You win some, you lose some. That's a, like, what, 60% win out of, like 2 out of 3? That's not bad. And sometimes there's, like, a random in there. And I did go scrub Jade's video this morning, and we have a lot of books in common on her favorites list. So, like, if I'm doing an overall list, this is how many we have in common, and this is how many we don't have in common. Jade is probably the #1 person I go to for high fantasy adult recommendations. If she loves a book, I want to try it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of BookTube Bestie, where we compare their 2021 favorites and least favorites and see if I also like and dislike their favorites and least favorites. I will be doing another episode of this coming soon. If you have any people you would like to see me do, I have no problem stepping out of my comfort zone too. I can read some romance. We can do whatever, so leave me some suggestions down below. And also, if you have any like tweaks or like suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I did want to keep this kind of a little bit more different than other people's like taste tests and stuff, which is why I did the 2021 favorites, and then I can also redo people next year and keep this series going on for a really long time, because I could do Jade again next year with her 2022 favorites if I wanted. So that's kind of what I was thinking with the whole favorites thing. And plus, it's just fun to read like people's favorites and least favorites. Like, let's be honest, like, it's kind of fun. And although I hated Falling Kingdoms and I should have DNF'd it, you know, it's another book to add to my roster. Have a wonderful day, guys. Thank you so much for watching.